No matter where you live, you're getting taxed. You're living under conditions which are quite frankly not very secure for your financial well-being. You can change that. Make all necessary preparations while you can. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. This is a little bit of a different topic today. I have covered it once before. It is important for everybody to understand, even though it may not apply to you directly. It is the concept of perpetual tourist, perpetual traveler, and flag theory. This is an article out of Forbes. What is a perpetual tourist? How never to pay personal taxes. That's right. Okay, so hear me out. I'm going to show you the places around the world. I'm going to give you the basics and hopefully make you understand how important this really is. There are indeed many ways to legally avoid paying taxes. One approach is to become a perpetual tourist, also known as a perpetual traveler. The basic idea is that by not spending very much time in any jurisdiction, a person can legitimately avoid paying taxes and increase personal freedoms. And it is that second part, increasing personal freedoms, that I believe is the most important. A key aspect of this approach is where the person is a citizen. The perpetual tourist has a citizenship in a jurisdiction that does not tax monies earned outside the country. I'll show you those in just a second. His or her legal residence is in a tax haven. It is preferable to have a business interest where the corporate tax rates are low. So where you are, it might be probably high rates of taxation. You're getting your income tax, you're getting your property tax. You know, if you have a business outside of the country, you have to claim those taxes and everything that goes along with that. So today, I'll introduce you, if you haven't heard of it before, to this concept. I mean, we're talking about something so foreign to 99% of people. They work, maybe have their business or they're anywhere they're making their income, they have their home, they have everything focused entirely local, okay? And we have this geographic diversification possibility that most people are not taking advantage of. Now, the average person working a 9-to-5 job and doesn't have a business and doesn't really want to travel, well then, this might not necessarily apply to everybody, but hopefully I can convince you today to at least think about it. Okay? So we'll talk about that. And to interject here, I'm working on a project that I have not released any information about that will hopefully make this a possibility for everyone. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. Little teaser. Perpetual traveler, the 6 flags of PT. Now, the 6th flag has been added more recently. This was initially, the concept was created by a man named Schultz, and I believe there was 5 at that time, 5 flags. But now we're talking about cyberspace with the internet and with all these things that have come about ever since, and protecting ourselves in that way. And so when he was around, none of that existed. So let's talk about just a few today. I'll try to be as quick as I possibly can. Citizenship. The passport you carry should be from a neutral, well-respected country so that it has good, visa-free travel possibilities. It should also be a country that doesn't tax its non-resident citizens and allow multiple citizenships. Examples include Canada, most European and Caribbean countries. That's very important because you can have a citizenship in one country, get a citizenship in a second country, right? And you're going to be able to have that passport. You're going to be able to travel where you need to travel without a visa. You're going to be able to not be taxed, hopefully not be taxed, if you're making income outside of that country. Residence. Your official country of residence is the address you give when you check into a hotel, though not necessarily where you spend your time. You will normally have an official document such as a resident permit from this country. It should be from a country that does not tax its residents on income generated outside of its borders. Examples include Monaco, Andorra, Belize, Malaysia, and most of Latin America. Incredible to think about this. So imagine that you reside somewhere in Latin America. It's very cheap for many people to live there. And they're not going to tax you if you're earning income in, let's just say, Europe. Asset haven is one or more stable financial centers where you keep and manage your money using trusted asset managers and possibly making use of trust foundations, etc. Examples include Switzerland, Singapore, or Panama. Business base is one or more countries where you earn your income. Everything you do here is tied up in companies that file their own accounts and pay as necessary. These companies are owned from the asset haven, so they don't trigger any requirement to file a personal tax return. These companies can be located anywhere in the world. The PT ideal is to sell goods and services over the internet, so the business base can be a simple offshore company. It's excellent. It's amazing to think about this concept. That you don't have to pay into any of these, yet you get geographic diversity. To me, that's amazing, because if everything that you have is local and suddenly something happens in that area, I assure you, you will be screwed over big time. I know people who are in this situation today, and it's very, very troublesome for them. Playgrounds, these are the countries where you spend your time physically, depending entirely on your personal likes and dislikes. Hot beaches or nightlife, cool mountains, you choose. If you get bored, you move on. In these countries, you are a mere tourist passing through who is welcomed because you spend money and nobody even thinks of trying to tax you. That's incredible to think of that you could just go on quote-unquote vacation. You're there for several months and you're treated you don't have to necessarily pay taxes in a lot of these places when you go to different areas. You can just live there. You can rent the place. That's exactly what you desire. And yet your businesses are just bringing in the money online for you. How amazing would that be? And they're in safe locations. I'm going to show you more about this. Look at this article out of Bloomberg. How much does a citizenship cost? We are talking about different areas around the world where you can actually just simply buy a citizenship. So at the top of the list, obviously Austria, $23 million. I don't think most people are going to be able to afford that. But if we go down the list here, I want to show you a few that are, I would say, more reasonable. Vanuatu is a place that's near Fiji. They offer for $226,000. Now the average person is going to say, I can't afford that. But if you had a business that was bringing in good money, fairly good money, you've got to think about this. There's no capital gains tax here. There's no corporate tax here. So in a longer term, a longer time frame, perhaps you would be able to make back your money, right? If you think about it, you get taxed heavily in most places around the world. If you didn't have any taxes, you would end up saving money. And we're talking about legitimate businesses here. We're not talking about, getting around a tax system or anything. This is the way you can do things. People do business like this. It's an amazing concept. So that's one country. But if I scroll down the list, I'm going to get a few more. So we can look at Antigua is another place that doesn't tax, either. And then some of them have a single tax, okay? Depending on St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Dominica. But what I found this one here is obviously the cheapest, Antigua. Personal income tax was abolished. Can you believe it? A place in the world where they abolished the income tax. You would never hear about that in the US and Canada, UK, Australia, and others. Never. They put them in supposedly temporarily and they never get rid of them. So this is just an interesting concept, okay? I'm not trying to convince you of anything, but if you're working that 9-to-5 job, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to introduce you to the concept because of something I'm going to bring to you in the near future. Think about earning income online, having a second passport, what that would do for you in terms of security. You never know what's going to happen no matter where you live. You think it's safe, you think everything's fine, and suddenly everything changes. And having a plan B, having a backup plan, having the ability to do what you need to do would be amazing. and do it in a way that's very profitable. Sure, $100,000 is not a little bit of money. That is a significant portion, but it's just something to think about. That's all I'm trying to do. Okay? Offshore bank accounts, clearly this is very important, because where you keep your money, especially if you're in that territory of non-insured accounts, I think those will be the first to go. As we saw, this is always the case. They always tell you, this is uninsured. They're warning you that that's the case. But a lot of people just keep that amount of money in there anyway. And we have uninsured investments too. People are putting their money into these accounts thinking that they won't be taken advantage of, but it happens. It does really happen. And of course, in the next crisis, it definitely will. So having your money geographically diversified is very important. A place like, for example, Singapore is highly rated as a place that has never had a bank failure. A very, very strong currency overall over the years, and their markets are doing well in comparison to the rest. They generally are doing better than other countries, and that's just one example. Then, of course, there's places like Switzerland and other things. But a lot of these businesses are starting to open up. That's making it easier for people who do not live there to open up bank accounts. I also want to mention the fact that we have Delaware corporations, we have Nevada corporations, we have Puerto Rico, we have different places within the U.S. borders that are able to, people are able to take advantage of. And you could do that if you're, for example, a Canadian. You can open up a business there. You can have that and take advantage of the tax savings, because it's not going to be very expensive at all to open up a Delaware corporation. It's actually really, really cheap. If I'm not mistaken, it's under $100. And you don't get taxed the way you do that you would with opening, in your local area. People will think, well, I don't have a business. Well, you should. If it's going to cost you less than $100 to have a business, then you definitely should have a business. I'm hoping I'm making myself clear. And just one very simple example here. Tax in the Bahamas. In the Bahamas, there is no income tax, capital gains tax, capital transfer tax, or estate tax. Think about where you live, how many taxes you are getting every single day. Every single day you're paying into these taxes. A place like the Bahamas, they don't have any tax. Okay? You're not getting taxed on income, you're not getting taxed on your capital gains, and so on. So these are the type of places in the Caribbean. There's Cayman Islands. There's, even if you go to somewhere like Panama, they don't tax you like they do in these places of the West, like, whether it's Canada, US, UK, and so on. So I'll end it there. All I wanted to note from this is that it is so beneficial to take advantage of the systems that are in place today, so that if you get in today, you know that you're safer. You know that you have it. If it costs you $100,000, let's say, as an investment. So people put money into the stock market, into real estate and so on as an investment, but they never think that where they live might become the problem one day. Think about that. So if you had another citizenship, you had perhaps a real estate property, or even, you don't even have to have one overseas, but you had a bank account somewhere else just sitting there, and yeah, maybe it does charge you fees every month, but think of it as insurance. You had a little bit of a nest egg somewhere else, just a small amount, just enough to keep it going, and none of that would be taxed, none of that would be watched by others. You can keep it secure and safe, and that gives you that plan B. So I hope that I've made myself clear. I don't want to rant on too much. Hopefully the video is not too long. That's all for this. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. And I will be bringing out something big. Okay, it's my goal for it. I'll just tell you right now, even though I shouldn't be talking about this, but my goal is to be able to help as many people as possible go from your typical 9 to 5, no preparations whatsoever, and give them the step-by-step means to be free from that, to have that financial freedom. It's a pretty big goal, but I'm going to go for it. If you found the video informative, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want the financial education that was not taught to you in schools, well, these two books have it all. I took everything I have learned over the years and squeezed them down into 2 books. They fit into each other like puzzle pieces, essentially, filling in the blanks for each other. They do cover similar topics, of course, but I do get into some other details. The Money GPS has all the charts and the diagrams, whereas Global Economic Collapse covers some other types of content. I get into making money, I get into self-sufficiency and that. So definitely check them out at Amazon. The link is in the description of this video. If you're more interested in the audiobook version, you can get that at themoneygps.com.